Thank you very much again for joining us this morning. Seigak-san can't see who's here on the computer, so he's not looking at the screen, but just gonna mention so that he will know who's here. So thank you, Doshin, Tosai, and Anne, Atsuko-san, Joanne, Keiko, and Linda-san. I'd like to share something that I shared last week, especially during this last several months and still ongoing, not just the COVID-19 pandemic, but all this social unrest, feeling of anxiety. I have been invited last year, actually, to a local social justice group. And when you hear social justice, sometimes people find it difficult, especially for Asian Buddhist people, to connect this justice movement with the Buddhist thing. Because we have a very famous story of Shakyamuni Buddha when the enemy troops came to conquer his own country of Shakya clan. He sat and he did not interfere and he let his own country conquer. Of course, his clan, his family became his disciples. So I assume many people still say, but then his gesture itself to us symbolizes non-violence. So whether for this story alone or just a Buddhist precepts teaches us, we try to be careful because our focus is more on how to tame our mind, how to work on us internally. And yet, there has been a social sort of a request from city of Long Beach to see somebody representing Asian community. So I said, well, as long as I can be useful, I thought, well, maybe. So I've been part of this. I had a chance to attend the city council meeting on the phone call, sort of talking about grocery workers, like a wage, uh, hospital workers, protective gears, and things like this. Even the people who work in the port. So they're very socially aware what's happening locally. And last week I was asked to talk about a little bit about Buddhism. So they're also interested in sharing our traditional values, a Buddhist perspective, no, religious perspective. This is something I shared, and since I prepared it for the meeting, I thought I might as well share it here. I have a couple of pictures that I want to share. So first of all, they asked me how I got to be interested in Buddhism. And of course, just as many of you and who grew up with Buddhist parents, I was born and raised in a Buddhist temple family. But then that was more like an air, which is, I'm sure, how if you have your parents who are Buddhist, you may feel, because you never really hear about it. Just it's a part of life. I might have talked about it in the past, but my first inspiration came from the school where I majored intercultural language, intercultural communication, linguistics, where we talked about perception gaps. And what it means is specifically when you're training as an interpreter or translator, they encourage us to cultivate our awareness of our perception filters, especially when you're translating for somebody. So there's a lot of professors, fellow students, also the Catholic priests and theology department students, very keen on learning Buddhism, especially this idea that our mind has filters, and whatever we perceive about this world comes through our own egocentric filters, no matter how hard we try. So we encouraged us through this study to sort of develop this awareness, and then practice of meditation really helped. I also had a chance to meet one Catholic priest who is a Father Reason Huber, who did a zazen, zazen or meditation session as well, being a Jesuit Catholic priest. So that's him. That's kind of how I was interested initially. And that's also how I reach out to other religions, that you quiet your mind, whether it's a social justice or whether it's a religious belief, Once we become blindly attached to it, and automatically we are surrendering to this future that we have. And of course, it was a social justice meeting. So they asked me to talk about a little bit about the relationship of Buddhism and social justice. And when we talk about social justice movement in the United States in relation to Buddhism, I can't let people not know this person, Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm not sure how many of you are have known him a lot, but he is one of the most famous Buddhist. Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh is especially known. I brought his name up because it was a Martin Luther King Jr.'s Memorial Day. So his friendship with Dr. King. He also has been an advocate of the father of mindfulness movement. So if you're learning like relaxation, body scan, anything from mental health department, or it had all this movement has been influenced. He is the one who sort of started this movement. So for Buddhists, especially in the United States and Canada, it's good to know about him always. Um, he also talked about this concept of engaged Buddhism as someone who has been significantly impacted by Vietnam War, and Western Buddhism has been affected significantly also. The core value of Buddhism here has been affected by his influence. Just a little bit of a history in case you might know about Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh and Dr. King. He first communicated with Dr. King in 1965, writing a letter and asking Dr. King for his support to end the Vietnam War. In a letter, he explained that monks who immolated themselves in Vietnam. They did it out of compassion. He said sometimes we have to burn ourselves in order to be heard. It's out of compassion that you do. It's the act of love and not despair. They discussed about peace, freedom, community, um, and both of them agreed that it's hard to go very far without a community. Dr. King nominated Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh in 1967 Nobel Peace Prize. Unfortunately, he wasn't awarded, but Dr. King said, I do not personally know of anyone more worthy of this prize than this gentle monk from Vietnam. His ideas of peace, if applied, would build a monument of ecumenism toward brotherhood to humanity. Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh became the chair of Vietnamese Buddhist peace delegation. For Thich Nhat Hanh, Dr. King was called a bodhisattva. He saw them as somebody enlightened, trying to awaken other living beings, help them go in the direction of compassion and understanding. He also stated that in Martin Luther King Jr., he experienced the love of Jesus, his embodied love of Jesus. So he's also well versed and well known in the Christian community as well. So I thought he would be the best person to share the story of with this group of collages in the city of Long Beach. Like I said, he started the mindfulness movement, which we benefit tremendously from. As a Buddhist, he was very consistent throughout. Anger and hatred will only enhance our inner discriminative views. The moment we form this in our mind. So, one message that we have to make sure to convey to anybody who's going through this social unrest, anxiety, that Buddhists cannot rely upon the power that has been rooted in anger or hatred. It has to be rooted in compassion and understanding. So, for if ever you ever get involved in this movement, it has been consistently the message for us to share that we rely upon the power which has roots in compassion and understanding. So, just saying that that's something we have to be careful about: anger and frustration, despair, especially nowadays. It is relevant to us. That's all from me now. Can I pass it on to Doshin-san?